Oh, hello. Listen, this is Keith from IELTS Speaking Success, and I'm here to help you build your speaking skills so you can succeed in the IELTS speaking test. So today I'm starting a great series of videos that I think will radically improve your performance in part 2 of the speaking test. It's actually a framework that will give you the structure, the language and the ideas to give a stunning performance. All right, a pretty good performance. No, a very good performance in IELTS Speaking Part 2. So, without further ado, let's get straight into it. So, as I mentioned, this is a framework approach. And it's for the part 2 of IELTS Speaking. Now, for me, the part 2 questions can be broken down into 5 categories. And I think these 5 categories really help us structure our answers. And the 5 categories are simply people, places, events, activities, and things. Most questions can fit into these categories. And I'll give you a framework that will help you structure your answers. Today's video is looking at people, the first category. And look out for the next video, which is all about places, which will also give you a great framework for those kind of questions. Let's begin then with people. Now, when we talk about people, for me, there are different questions, but all of them fundamentally can include who the person is, how you know them, and describing them. So, who they are, maybe it's your brother, your sister, family, friend, how you know them, where you met maybe, and describing them could be personality or appearance. So let's have a look at some recent part 2 questions here. Describe a friend that you feel proud of. Now here you can talk about who they are again, right? How you know them, and you can describe them. Probably you're describing their personality maybe, because it's what makes you proud of them. Another question, describe a person who travels a lot by plane for work purposes. Again, you can say who they are, how you know them, maybe it's a work colleague, and you can describe them. Maybe more of a focus on their work, maybe their personality, if they like flying, maybe their appearance. You know, maybe they're very, very big and find it difficult to fly, or maybe they're very big because they fly and don't do much exercise. Who knows? A third question, describe someone you know who spends their free time helping others. Again, you can say who they are, how you know them. Describe them, probably a focus on their personality, right? If it's they're helping other people, they have that kind of personality or characteristics. Now, of course, for each question, you also want to focus on the kind of activity they do. So what they did that makes you proud, or why they travel, what their job is, that activity, or their activity of helping people. So that will also be a key part of your part 2 answer, the activity, what they do. But that will be different. But the who, how you know them, describe them, can be applied to all of the people questions. So these are the ideas. They may help you. Of course, this is not a rule. This is just a guideline. Let's break it down a bit and look at some of the language. So if we're looking at people and we say who they are, okay? X or Tom was a former colleague. Maybe he was a former classmate. That means he used to be your classmate, or he used to be your colleague. He was a former roommate, a former work colleague, okay? Or he's a classmate of mine. Now notice, instead of saying he is my classmate, he is a classmate of mine. It's just giving richer grammar, a nicer grammatical structure. that's more interesting, and you want to increase your width of grammar or your range of grammar. So trying to incorporate more complex grammatical structures is a good idea. You could say, he's one of the most intelligent people I know. He's one of the most beautiful, handsome, diligent, generous people I know. It's a lovely superlative, right? Again, more interesting grammar. He's one of the most I know. Now, if you've watched my fluency video, you'll be familiar with my approach to improve fluency. And a key part of that is substituting. You could practice this right now, right here with all of these. Okay, so Tom was a former colleague. Try it. Classmate. Tom was a former classmate. Exactly. Same again. He's a classmate of mine. Colleague. Friend. Exactly. Likewise, he's one of the most intelligent people I know. Handsome. Diligent. Diligent means studies hard, right? Generous. He's one of the most generous people I know. Great. Remember to put your stress on the adjective. He's one of the most generous people I know. He's one of the most intelligent people I know. Your word stress is really important as well. So we've talked about who. What about how you know them? Well, obviously, I first met Mark 2 years ago, or I first met Mark 3 months ago. Nice, simple. You could make it more interesting by using the present perfect. I've known Mark for 2 years. I've known Tom for 2 years. Or throw in a nice expression, for donkey's years. It's nothing to do with donkeys, just means a long time. I've known Mark for donkey's years. I've known Mark for donkey's years. Brilliant. Again, you can substitute, right? I've known Mark for 5 years. I've known Mark for 2 years. Also, we go back a long time. Very simple but nice kind of idiomatic expression. We go back means we have known each other a long time. We go back a long time. Brilliant. Now, we've looked at who, how you know them. What about describing them? Well, we can use nouns, adverbs, and adjectives. Let's say Mark. Mark is a real extrovert. We're using the noun, okay? Or he's a real introvert. So extrovert, he's outgoing. Introvert, he's shy. He's a real alpha male. Or she's a real chatterbox. So you can, again, substitute any kind of noun to describe their personality. Part 2, it's very, very simple, again, to make more complex structures using adverbs. So you can say, well, he's gregarious. That means he's sociable. He likes meeting people. Or he's pretty gregarious. He's fairly gregarious. So we can substitute, okay? It's your turn. Substitute pretty, okay? Fairly. He's fairly gregarious, right? Rather. She's rather gregarious. Somewhat. He's somewhat gregarious. Extremely. He's extremely gregarious. Gregarious, that's a hard one. Gregarious. He's extremely gregarious. Finally, you can use adjectives. And you can be substituting the adjectives. So he's a little withdrawn. means shy, right? He's a little introvert. He's a little timid. So he's a little withdrawn. He's a little gregarious. Again, practice your substituting and build up your fluency with all of these phrases. And for those of you who really paid attention with the fluency formula video, and if you haven't seen it, go and watch it in a minute. After substituting, make the sentence true. Say something that is true for you. So instead of Tom and Mark, think of the real person. Ah, my brother, John. John is pretty gregarious. Yeah. So once you make true sentences, you're activating your brain and you really start to build your fluency. So that's it. We have seen who, how you know them, describing them. Describing here is more about personality, but you can also do appearance. So now, next, I'm going to take one of the recent questions. In fact, this one. Describe a friend that you feel proud of. And I'm going to give you a model answer using quite a few of these expressions we've just looked at. Right, let's do it. I'm going to talk about Tom, who was a former colleague of mine back in the day when I was working for a law firm in London. So we've known each other for donkey's years, and I think we first met in 2010. We were working in the same department and got on really well. We really hit it off right from the start. He's arguably the most intelligent guy I've ever met. I mean, he's sharp, right? Really sharp. He's pretty gregarious, but very focused. Anyway, he left that company to set up his own business, and he made a real success of it. He went from being one man to now having a team of 10 and being known as the leading law firm in his area. I feel extremely proud of him because he deserved to do well, and I'm sure he will continue to grow and do well in the future. And that, my friends, is the model answer. Can you see how I've taken some of the phrases and expressions to incorporate it into my answer? I've talked about who he is, how I know him, described him, and also of Keith, of course. Also what they did that made me feel proud. Great. That brings us to the end of today's video. Look out for the next one. We're going to be looking at places and doing some similar activities to build your structure, your ideas, and beautiful language that will radically improve your Part 2 answers. Like it? Do like it. Subscribe, and I'll see you here soon. Take care. Bye-bye. Also, if you're interested in getting more in-depth analysis and much more language with coaching on your pronunciation and fluency, join the Part 2 online course. You can get it right now through the link below, and this goes into a lot more depth and gives you everything you need to give you the stunning performance you need for Part 2 and all of IELTS speaking. Great. See you soon.